It's amazing to me how much we're seeing medical expertise and artificial intelligence kind of come together. I mean, it feels like just yesterday we were reading about this in science fiction, but now it's here.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating because when we look at AI and healthcare, the idea isn't about replacing doctors, it's about enhancing them. It's about giving them, incredible new tools and capabilities. And for you, our listener, what we want to do today is really give you a clear sense of how this partnership, this kind of human AI collaboration, is really starting to reshape the world of healthcare so you can kind of jump ahead of the curve and see what's coming down the line.
So maybe a good place to start is with something a lot of us have probably experienced in one way or another, which is medical imaging. X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, things like that. Our sources really dive into how AI is starting to play a major role in the way these images are actually analyzed.
Yeah. And one of the things that's really incredible here is the speed and the accuracy. Yeah, these algorithms, and just to kind of put it simply, algorithms are basically like very precise sets of instructions that allow computers to sort of learn from data. And these algorithms are being trained to detect incredibly subtle patterns in these images, things that might be really, really difficult for even a trained human eye to pick up on, just given the sheer complexity and the volume of images that they're looking at.
Well, and that has some pretty big implications, right? Because if AI can identify something very, very small, very early on in the process, it really opens up the window for, more
hmm
effective treatment. It's almost like having this super powered second opinion.
Exactly. It's like giving the radiologist, sort of a second set of eyes, a really, really thorough review. And especially when you think about the, hundreds or thousands of images that a radiologist might look at in a single day, AI can help prioritize cases, flag anything that looks suspicious, and ultimately lead to quicker and more accurate diagnosis, which could really change the way medical teams function.
And then even beyond just looking at images, our sources also talk about how AI is making treatment itself much more personalized. And this really feels like a pretty fundamental shift in the way medicine is practiced.
It is. It's revolutionary. Imagine the amount of information we have on patients now.
Hmm.
Their medical history, results of tests, genetic information. AI can analyze this massive amount of data, these huge data sets, and see connections and trends that a human doctor could never see on their own. It's really about the scale of analysis that AI can handle.
So instead of kind of like a one size fits all treatment plan, AI could actually help create something that's specifically for me, for example.
Exactly. By analyzing your genes, your past health history, a whole range of factors, it can help create a treatment plan that's much more targeted. We often hear about precision medicine, but now you can imagine AI kind of supercharging that, making it even more precise and effective, potentially leading to, better outcomes and fewer side effects.
And that kind of detailed analysis, that ability to kind of crunch these huge sets of numbers, is also playing a big role in the way new drugs are discovered. And that's another area where our sources really highlight how AI is changing things. When you think about all the possible combinations of biological and chemical compounds, it just boggles the mind.
And what's so interesting is that AI can actually help researchers navigate that complexity. So you have these algorithms that are looking at, huge amounts of data about biology and chemistry, and they can identify promising new drug candidates much more efficiently than traditional methods. They can even, kind of predict how well a drug might work and flag any potential problems very early on in the development process.
And that's got to speed things up quite a bit, right? Because, I mean, discovering a new drug can take years, sometimes even decades, and there are so many dead ends along the way.
Absolutely. AI has the potential to drastically shorten that timeline, which means that patients get access to those new treatments, those breakthroughs, much faster. And it's essentially like being able to simulate how different molecules might interact with the body, predict if they're going to be toxic. So researchers can really focus on the most promising options. It saves time, it saves money, it saves resources. I mean, think about how many potentially life-saving treatments we might have missed just because we couldn't analyze data fast enough in the past.
Now, another really interesting area that comes up in our sources is how AI is enabling us to monitor patients remotely. And I feel like this is especially relevant, given how much emphasis there is now on staying healthy at home.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's really transformative here is the ability to track, things like vital signs and other really important health indicators, continuously in real time. And a lot of this is happening through wearable devices and platforms that are powered by AI. And these systems, they can analyze this constant stream of data and alert healthcare providers if something's off.
Yeah.
sometimes even before the patient themselves realizes there might be a problem.
So it's almost like having this continuous health check that can proactively spot something before it becomes serious, which I mean, that could be a game changer when it comes to, managing chronic conditions or even preventing, ending up back in the
Oh,
hospital.
exactly. It shifts things to a much more proactive model of care, right?
Mm.
Instead of waiting for something to go wrong, doctors can intervene early and potentially head off more serious health issues. And, this is especially valuable for people who are managing long-term illnesses
Yeah.
and who need that kind of constant feedback and monitoring.
And this kind of leads into a really important point about making healthcare more accessible in general, which is something else that our sources touch on. It seems like AI is starting to play a role in bridging some of the gaps in who can actually get good quality care.
Yeah. This is where we start to see, the real potential for AI to benefit society as a whole.
Mm.
So these AI-driven platforms, they can empower patients. They can give them personalized health recommendations. They can remind them to take their medications. They can even connect them with doctors and specialists remotely through things like telemedicine.
I mean, that could be huge for people who live in, rural areas or who just have difficulty getting to a doctor's office for whatever reason.
Hmm.
It could really help level the playing field.
Exactly. AI has the ability to overcome geographical barriers so that quality healthcare is more accessible to people no matter where they live or what
Yeah.
their circumstances are. And the ultimate goal here is to make healthcare more accessible, more affordable, and more equitable for a wider range of people. I mean, think about the impact this could have on underserved communities that don't have the same access to medical facilities that others do.
It really seems like, looking ahead, the future of healthcare and these advances in AI are really going to be inextricably linked.
Absolutely. And the focus remains on how we can empower doctors, how we can use AI to enhance their expertise, and ultimately how we can improve health outcomes for everyone. It's not about replacing doctors, it's about this collaboration where the unique strengths of both humans and AI are combined, creating something that's more than the sum of its parts.
And it feels like, as our sources make clear, we're just at the very beginning of understanding what AI can really do when it comes to medicine and healthcare.
Yeah, I mean, we're really just scratching the surface of what's possible here. The potential for more groundbreaking advancements in how we diagnose diseases, how we treat them, how we prevent them. It's really exciting. And, this is a field that's moving at an incredible pace.
So as you've been listening to this deep dive, think about what this might mean for your own health, in the years ahead. How might these developments in AI actually change the way you interact with the medical world? Are you going to be able to experience more personalized care, more proactive care? It's worth really taking a moment to reflect on how this technological evolution might shape your personal health journey in the future.
It's a fascinating time to be alive, that's for sure.
It really is.